to the GT1 Sports Club. This is an opportunity to see some of the most outstanding sports cars around the Nürburgring this morning. Track conditions improving all the time. This is a display of these cars, a chance for these owners of some of the most fantastic cars in the world to get out on a circuit and drive them as they really, really should be driven. And we've got three different makes of cars, but the predominant make out on the circuit this morning is the Pagani Huayra R. This is a very, very special sound, of course, made by the fantastic V12 engine, 850 horsepower, and just so much torque as well. But it's the noise that draws everybody in. Just listen to the roar. They say that sound is a hugely important part of owning a car, and it certainly is in racing, but that V12 makes just the most fantastic sound. It goes up to, rev it up to 9,000 RPM if you dare. The performance of this car, it weighs just over a ton, 1,050 kilos. So incredibly dynamic, absolutely the pinnacle of everything that Pagani Automobili has created since the Argentinian founder Alejandro Pagani set the ball rolling quite some while ago now, and each year the models become more and more refined, and this is where these cars are in their natural habitat. It looks purposeful, it sounds outstanding, and if you just happen to have a spare 2.6 million euros plus tax on top, you could be one of the drivers out here. But this is a very special occasion. When these cars were created, their performance was just so far in excess of what really could be found or could be used on a public road. This is where the cars are absolutely made for purpose, and what a fantastic experience. It's been a while since the GT1 Sports Club set the ball rolling, and it's had track days at the Nürburgring, that's here, Spa-Francorchamps, Paul Ricard, Barcelona, Yas Marina, and the Circuit of Americas. Now, this is not a Pagani, that we can tell you. This is the Praga Bohema, and again, literally a single-seater with bodywork, and just so much power from this one. This is a 700 horsepower car, and under a ton, 982 kilos. And as you can see, a passenger being given a ride. They're being introduced to the pit lane there, but it's a chance to, at 3 points through the course of the Sunday here at the Nürburgring, to go out on the circuit. This is a car with a name that needs no introduction, but I shall tell you anyhow. It's the McLaren Senna GTR, 4-litre V8 engine, and a lot of punch, 825 horsepower. And obviously, Ayrton Senna, just such a pivotal man in the late 1980s, going into the early 90s with McLaren. Those 3 world titles he achieved. But then these extreme road cars being produced, created, refined all the time. But a chance to get out on the circuit here and really stretch its legs. 0 to 100, 2.8 seconds. That's just a blink of an eye. Top speed, 340 kilometers an hour, or just over 215 miles an hour. But a chance to get these cars. This is the tail end of the Praga Bohema, made in the Czech Republic. Just checking all was fine. It was a systems check, and we had a passenger on board, driver on the near side. What a dynamic piece of kit. And of course, with the GT1 Sports Club at the circuits I mentioned at the start. So here at the Nürburgring, Spa-Francorchamps, Paul Ricard, Barcelona, Yas Marina, and the Circuit of Americas thus far. There's also a big exposition in the middle of the paddock where people can get up and take a look at these amazing cars, the cars of which you can only dream. But the soundtrack is the one that you could take home. Just imagine that sound roaring through the night, but a chance for these cars that are just so unbelievably warp speed fast. Top speed is almost guaranteed to be over 200 miles an hour in all of them. But the real point of these cars is to take them on a circuit and let them really stretch their legs. No concerns about traffic, plenty of width to play, and on a smooth racing surface. Let's face it, public roads aren't what they have been in the past. But my takeaway from this first session is the outstanding sound of the Pagani Huayra. You can hear one coming down the hill. The McLaren just minding its own business, hopefully using those mirrors to check that it all is behind, because that Pagani Huayra R is closing in very fast indeed, but will pick its moment and make its way past and get all those horses released. But it's just the combination, not not of just horsepower and torque. It's also just how light these cars are and the sheer thrill they give all of their drivers. They're going to be out on the track 3 times here on the Sunday at the Nürburgring, and a lot of people getting a chance to experience these cars from the passenger seat as well. And the art in pista element of Pagani, it's a very special program. They're tailor-made customer driving experiences and track experiences. So a lot of people have signed up to be given the thrill of a lifetime in so many ways. Nerves beforehand from those who are passengers for the first time, and those who are driving these cars for the first time certainly will have to take a huge amount of attention and detail to what they're doing. Lots of focus, but now seeing the flow there from the Pagani coming up the slope. That was through the Schumacher S's, up now to turn 11, and then you get this fabulous flow around the circuit. And with just a handful of cars on track, there's plenty of space for the drivers, and the noise that's ringing out of the Nürburgring, absolutely outstanding. Down through the dip at turn 13. And then getting to experience a different dynamic with these cars up into the chicane. That's turns 14 and 15. Plenty of space being allowed, not getting that car up into the curbs, being gentle with it, but then wait, just releasing the power out of turn 16, 17 onto the start-finish straight, and then the whale just unravels. And when I say down to the first corner, I really do mean down. The track dips as it leaves the start-finish grid down to the first corner, plenty of width. And of course, when you're racing, you've got other people trying to dive up the inside or go around the outside. But right now, when you're out on this track on your own in the GT1 Sports Club day, you know you've got space to roam, space to play, space to experiment in so many ways, but most of all, a place to really unleash the performance of these truly, truly mind-shattering cars. And again, you can see with every lap, the drivers are experimenting, just finding out where they can put the power down to be a bit more effective, and just starting to find the flow as they work their way around the circuit in these absolutely stunning hypercars. And one of the quotes from the people in the sports club was, being the enthusiastic owner of one of these special cars and having very little opportunity to use it, I can't wait to run alongside other extreme hyper and super track day cars in a relaxed and friendly environment. And you could see the smiles on everyone's faces. That is exactly what they're getting. This is the Praga Bohema, just a little flash of the lights there. Absolutely extraordinary, extreme-looking car. But once you start looking at all the aerodynamics and that huge rear wing as well, you understand this is, again, just the great big diffuser under the car as well. You can understand the development of aerodynamics, really understood eventually that air has to be channeled under the car as well as over it to give it the downforce to help it with all the handling that it requires. And you can be quite sure that GT1 Sports Club owners and passengers and guests will be delighted that they're doing this today at the Nürburgring, not yesterday, where the track was either wet, in fog, or somewhere in between. So conditions were tricky, but here, the Sunday at the Nürburgring, all looking very, very good indeed for these drivers. What a thrill. And also for a lot of the passengers, they may never have been around a race circuit before, so to come somewhere like here that has such a lengthy history, 40 years odd since this track opened. In the background, there's the castle over the Nürburg village, and off to the left, of course, the mighty Nordschleife, the full circuit. Right, a few little mirror adjustments there to make sure that the drivers are confident that they can see what they need to see when they take that higher R out on the track to go and play with all the horsepower, but most notably that fantastic sound they're going to experience from within the cockpit. V12, 850 horsepower. Enough power and then a little bit more just for good luck. And these are the cars not made for the GT1 Sports Club. The GT1 Sports Club is made for these cars. And that is why their fans would have been watching the racing this morning, but they'll be hanging over. They'll have heard this incredible engine note from these 6 supercars, and they've been looking out over the barriers from the spectator areas, because these are the cars that a lot of the young fans will have posters of and images of as they start their career in just loving high-performance cars. And it's interesting, every time the GT1 Sports Club is part of the program on these SRO events. A lot of the mechanics and the engineers from the teams, they're working on the way on their cars for the race this afternoon, but they do take a moment to look out of their pit garages and ogle these fantastic machines. And if you told someone 20 years ago, 30 years ago, cars as extreme as these could exist just for people to take out on track days, they would have looked at you in a rather strange fashion. But really, the performance took a massive leap when the McLaren F1 was launched in the mid-1990s. And then the supercars began to follow, not just from the big names, but certainly like Praga coming into play. Lots of people that only have companies that only make supercars. McLaren has a company that makes racing cars for the customers, racing cars, of course, for its Formula One team, and some of the most outstanding road cars. But these are the extreme versions of their road cars. The McLaren Senna, just the most amazing machine. This one doesn't have the roar of a V12. It's a 4-litre V8, but it packs a punch, 425 horsepower. And I just love the fact McLaren still has such a nod to perhaps its greatest ever driver, to Ayrton Senna. And certainly from time to time you see his nephew Bruno Senna demonstrating these cars with great style as well. So the sun is shining over the Nürburgring, and a few people getting the fastest ride of their life. Pagani Huayra roaring its way around the circuit. The McLaren taking it quite gently, but the number 11 Huayra has been pressing on from the moment this session started. Bearing in mind, look at those mighty tailpipes vibrating as all that power is being harnessed. And just what a treat for the drivers. Having these cars isn't just about looking at them, it's about driving them, and then driving them somewhere like this where you can just got all the space to go out and play, and that's precisely what these drivers are doing. Some with passengers, some without, but it's a huge amount of fun. What a fantastic backdrop. There is something very, very special about the V12 roar, and Gordon Murray Automotive produced a car with the most astonishing sound. I've seen that several times around Goodwood, doing demos there, and certainly the amount of aerodynamic development that goes in these cars is just so far in excess of the early supercars that started surfacing supposedly from the start of the Lamborghini Miura back in the late 1960s. But since then, the amount of work you can do on these cars, the way you can develop them, and also develop them to the driver's taste as well. And these cars very much personalised too. But I think that's been a very good start to the GT1 Sports Club here at the Nürburgring. Dry track, tick. Sunny weather, tick. Plenty of space to play, tick, tick, tick. It's really working for the drivers and their passengers today. 2 more sessions for them through the course this Sunday at the Nürburgring, but I think everybody, whether driver or passenger, when they get out, they won't really need that strong coffee. They are fully awake. Have a coffee anyhow, obviously. And it's a fantastic opportunity when people come to the paddock at these GT World Challenge events, the Fanatec GT Series, travelling around the world, but having supercars in the paddock is something that's very much been part of the show, but then going a stage better and putting them out on the tracks, that's what the GT1 Sports Club is about, and everybody absolutely loves getting a chance to look, to listen, and just enjoy these cars. The pace is notably starting to pick up. That Praga, the Bohema model coming down to turn 1, getting the braking done, taking the widest line possible. The driver is definitely starting to crank the pace up on that. Starting to work the car a bit more to sort of towards the speeds that it's been made to perform at. You know, a lot of cars can go quite quickly, but these cars with so much downforce and aero work, these are made to handle as well. So it's great to see them getting put up into their performance window. Just keeping a bit of airflow through the front of that, because obviously with so much engine, the mighty V12 down at the tail end of the car. Still needs airflow through under the car, but such extreme body shapes and just outstanding cars, and what a brilliant sound they make. And it's one thing if you've put your money down, you've bought yourself a Pagani Huayra to drive around, but then someone goes, yeah, but I've got the Pagani Huayra R, top of the range, the experimental car in so many ways. But it will be a stepping stone to other models in the future. But for Pagani, they've had their distinctive style, but what they've added over the decade or so since the first ones came out is performance and handling. It's all coming along. It's development work, absolutely constant. I can't stop just listening to that V12 engine. It truly is almost haunting. It's absolutely ethereal. And it's a 25-minute track session. There's another one later today. Two more later today. One is at the close of play when the final ceremonies are being performed up on the podium. It'll be a last chance for a rotation of further drivers and their passengers around the circuit. And the Nürburgring does really provide a fantastic flow. The only tight corner on the circuit is the chicane, and drivers being quite cautious. There it is, but the sweep down the hill towards it, absolutely fantastic. And just that moment where the driver comes up to this is the final couple of corners, turn 16, turn straight into 17, but once they got the car straight, and then to unleash the power down the start-finish straight, that is when the passenger who wouldn't have experienced acceleration like that will be thumped back into their seat, down the start straight, made all the more dynamic by the big grandstands on the left-hand side, the pit building on the right. And in fact, we've got another Huayra R just tucked in behind, going increasingly fast. They may go round in tandem to what would possibly be their last couple of laps, perhaps. There we are, in fact, the number 9, the Huayra R with 9 on the door. I thought it was a little bit quicker. It swept its way past, and it's about finding the flow here. Perfect conditions for the drivers out there on the circuit. Working their way down the slope. That's turns 5 and 6. Down the hill they go. A little bit of adjustment, but it's about just choosing the moment to really unleash those horses. I'm just going to say the number again. 850 horsepower, 750 Newton meters of torque. Does take some control, though. You may just want to plant the throttle. Choose your moment, though. That much power, that degree of lightness in the car, it's going to be very, very twitchy indeed. Whoever's at the wheel of this one is really putting in a very, very clean and tidy performance. So their passenger will be getting a real treat of a ride. And it's just when you analyse the performance figures of these cars, the combination of immense power, fantastic aerodynamics, and very little weight. I mean, they'd outperform some of the great cars that used to race at Le Mans long ago easily. Just so much more power, but also just the reliability of these cars. I mean, they are made to withstand phenomenal performance. And the car from Czechia, the Czech Republic, the Praga Bohema. Praga they've got their own race series, and they've really started to establish themselves as a company that can make really, really serious supercars. And this is the best place to demonstrate the performance. Coming into the pit lane now, but as I said, there are 2 further GT1 Sports Club sessions later today here on race day for the Fanatec GT World Challenge at the Nürburgring circuit. Yesterday, it felt like a different country, a different day. Mist, rain, not pleasant. Today, bright sunshine, dry track. Very, very nice indeed. Also not too hot, 16.5 degrees air temperature. Be a lot warmer in those cockpits, but the track has been warming all the time. It's now up to 24 degrees, offering more grip for the tyres and fire. There's your chance to rumble out over the curbing. whoever's driving this Chiara is really getting a fantastic move on, and their treat to us is keeping the revs up high and a little bit of an off. There we are, praise a driver, and they might just run a little wide. First mistake I've seen from them, but it was all gathered together, and on the way they go again. So now the driver of that Chiara knows precisely where the edge of the circuit is. They've just noted that one down, put it in their mental notebook, and up over the rise out of the Schumacher as they have been. Then turns 11, 12, down in the dip to 13, and then up the slope to the chicane they will go. So the session coming to a close, and it's been a real treat for all the drivers concerned, but most notably, a lot of these people would have driven their own cars before, but any guests, any passengers who've been given something will certainly remember that and be clamouring for more. There'll be sure to be a big queue. Maybe they've had their go, but there, looking down out of the final corner over the pit buildings at the Nürburgring, the GT1 Sports Club is at a conclusion. Their run is complete, and a busy day lies ahead. We've got Lamborghini Super Trofeo next, and a lot of the people we're doing that. So that's the end of the GT1 Sports Club. Back later.